Good afternoon, friends and traders. Welcome to the Market Recap. I am Dan Hodgman. It is Monday, May 24th. We're a week away from a holiday, and really summer kicking off. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. We had sun. We had hot weather. I turned my AC on for the first time in basically a year. It was spectacular, so I hope you guys got out and were able to enjoy it as well. Sitting here with the windows open, birds chirping, sun is shining. Hard to beat that. You know, we got a nice day here in the markets. It was pretty much a buy day across the board, if we're looking at it from last night into today. But a couple of these markets stalled out here on us, looking at gold, euro, and 10-year note was a little bit quieter. But we got a nice little bounce in the 10-year note after we saw yields start to dip. Crude oil taking off to the upside, and really, are we surprised? Coming into one of the biggest travel holiday weekends, driving weekends in the United States, Memorial Day weekend, everyone will be out there driving. It always tends to watch gas prices, and oil likes to pop going into that so they can make as much money as possible. S&P 500, same with the Nasdaq today. No looking back, no looking to close the gap to settlement price. Both of them took off the open and just continued to extend. And, I had a great conversation with the trader today. Had a couple people, or we were talking about this idea of he's gotten really comfortable within his range trade. And it's something that he's worked on. He's kind of stepped away from that idea of breakout trading. But how do you get in on some of these trend days, right? We talk, buy the pullback if it's trending higher. Well, where is that pullback? And I think the key here is if you've gotten comfortable with one market state, that's good. If the market starts to trade in a different state, not something you're comfortable with, well, the first step is don't be afraid to take the day off. There's nothing wrong with that. And then secondly, if the market starts to go, you're looking at levels. You have to define some levels up above that can help you define when you're going to get in. Obviously, if it's a high, we approach a new level, but we're trying to get in on the long side. Let's let it move through. Let's see if that level is going to hold or if it's going to break down. And if it moves through, starts to break down, then that's where we're starting to say, okay, now I can start to get in long on this trade to the upside. So it's a great question, and it is difficult. It's something that takes time, and we all have to constantly be working on and evolving with. We get so comfortable in range trade, and then the markets get directional, and then we got to step away, and we got to make those adjustments. So always be ready and nimble as a trader to adjust and look for those next opportunities. PD, good to see you. Norman, anyone else do stupid things this afternoon? Fortunately, I did not. I did a little bit this morning and have been done basically since 10:30 this morning. Sean, good to see you. Greg, when do we see boat picks? All right. Got my phone here. Let's see here. I'll find one for you. All right. Pulling it up if I can find one. Gotta have one in here somewhere. All right, here's one. Let's see here. There you go. Can you see that? That is our custom-built mahogany wooden boat built here in Walworth County, Wisconsin. All right, guys. Let's see here. Major mistakes at the open. PD, I was up a whopping $50 this morning and should have walked away, but probably got bored and tried to force things. Ended up, oh my gosh, PD, Monday mornings. Key with a Monday. Don't come out swinging. Take your time. We've taken a couple days off of work. Here's my analogy of it. We've all been driving, and you hit in the school zone, and you got to do 20 miles an hour, right? And you feel really slow. It's kind of the weekends, right? Markets slow down, we're not thinking about it, and all of a sudden we go from that 20 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden we get in the fast lane on the highway and we got to run 80. That's all of a sudden that 80 miles an hour feels like we are flying. That's Monday mornings to me. We feel like we're flying. Once we get a little bit, we're in that lane a little bit longer. We're going 80 a little bit more. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, things have slowed down. This feels natural to me. So that's how I approach it on the weekends into Monday. And that's really, I think, how a lot of traders look at that. We slowed down over the weekends. Monday, we can't just jump right in and think we're going to go full speed. We get into it slow. If we have a slow morning, hey, great, step away. We lock something in, cool. Green day is a green day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's where we want to make our money. Friday, we want to sit back, and if something happens, we maybe take a chance. But other than that, Friday, especially in the summer, we're out. I don't work really much on Fridays in general. I'm usually out of here by about 11 o'clock, and in summers, even earlier. So we have to just recognize that with ourselves as traders. Thank you. Glad you guys like the boat. Bill, good to see you. All right. And Greg, good looking boat. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at these charts here and see what we got going on in the markets today. Whoops. We've got the 10-year note here. Let's open up crude oil. We like to start with crude oil. We saw this market last week started to bottom out. We are working our way back towards those prior week highs. That's what we're catching our eyes on up here. That $67 mark really is the target up above. I have no problem or no hesitation looking up there. This market opened up. And here's where we got a little hairy. Off the open, it started to look like it wanted to roll over, but never really attracted enough sellers. This is where it is really tough to get in on trend trades. Now, here's something that I personally look at quite heavily is the weighted moving average. And I think mine on my other charting is set at 20 period. And this is where it started to catch my attention. This is something I look at. Actually, let's make it a little bit more visible so we can all see this, so we have a better idea. So this is the volume weighted average, or weighted average price. It's a moving average. It's something I talk a lot about, moving averages. This is one of the most important ones for me. This is really something I pay close attention to. This market opened up above it. And now instinctually, if we start to see the market rotating over, that's saying off the open, we're failing to attract buyers. This market's looking to close the gap to settlement price down here at, I believe it was 63.58. I lost my quote board here. Let me look at it. Yep, there we go, 63.58. Now that's something we start to notice. Okay, is this market going to close the gap to settlement price? Well, we've been in a trend up since the entire night. Going the last couple days, this market has been trending higher. Really, all it's trying to do is find some fair value price, weighted average price here. It rotates right down to it. To me, that's a sign of if this market holds up above this average, then I think we're going to continue in that direction. And it did exactly that. It attempted to go lower, but it never accepted below it and quickly recovered, attracted those buyers, and finally took that move to the upside. But a lot of times, this is where we're looking. We're looking right off that open. If it fails to make that new high and continue in that direction, a lot of times we want to rotate over. Well, we got to keep in mind, we're in a trending market. There's a lot going on that can increase the price of crude oil, aka Memorial Day weekend around the corner. A lot of gas situations going on around the country. Supply chain issues that could very easily send this market higher. And it did exactly that. We came right to unchecked point of control from back here on May 18th and just through it right here at 65. We're going to call it 65.80. We're always looking for those unchecked points of control if the market gets directional. And it moved right to it and slightly through it. So great opportunity to the upside there. Next, let's go ahead and look at the S&P 500. Now, this was an interesting one. This market opened up away from settlement price. Again, the first thing we're always thinking about is does the market rotate back towards settlement price? But here's what I liked about this market. We opened up above Friday's value area high. You guys know me. I love using prior day value area high or value areas in general and points of control. I'm looking at this market and saying, if I tried to go short here, my stop's going to be all the way up pretty darn close to Friday's swing high up here at 41.85. Again, we opened up right here at 75. Do I want to take 10 points of risk to see if this market rotates lower down to 51? Well, that's a reasonable trade. We're 2-1. Everything's managed. But I really am not comfortable with that trade because I need this market to accept back in Friday's value area, but we opened up away from it. Now we can look at this market and say if I can get in at 75, I can put my stop just on the other side of value area and possibly take this market to Friday's value area high and above. I think that's a very reasonable trade. Market was directional in the overnight session, opened up above or away outside of Friday's value area. Great opportunity to look long because we're able to keep our risk relatively tight in here. All right, next, let's take a look at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq sets up pretty similarly here today as well. Opens up above Friday's value area high. Okay, good news. We're looking at this. We have traded outside value. We are no longer within Friday's range. We're opening up outside of that value area. Again, when I say range, I'm talking value area. Now we can extend our range to Friday's high up here at 565. Good area to look at once again. So if we go long, we can possibly take the run up to it. And this is where we get to pay attention as traders. Market is directional. Do we want to just stop ourselves out just because we came to a level? No, we want to start to pay attention to what price action is doing here. Is the momentum continuing? Basics of understanding of volume. If volume is continuing to increase, look for the market to continue in that direction. Market did exactly that. Market volume continued to increase. Market continued to move in its direction. We pay attention to that. We can pull, we can extend our target until the market starts to tell us otherwise. We start to see volume drop off and the market flattens out pretty nicely here. And that's a signal right there. All right, let's get out of this long that we were able to take. Next, we're going to look at gold. Like I said, not a whole lot of action here in gold. Kind of choppy. This market's been relatively range bound. Opened up. It attempted to get down to settlement price down here at $1,876.70, but really never closed that gap. Pure chop. This is waiting for more. I think it's as simple as that. I think there's still a lot of concern with what's going on in cryptocurrency. Are we going to have that flight over to gold here, that safe haven in gold? I don't know. We're seeing equities continue to grind higher, but there's still a lot of economic questions. Is inflation going to come back into talks? I think there's a lot of that. This market is very comfortable staying inside. As you can see, we've maintained inside range. And now what I'm going to start to pay attention to here that's really going to catch my attention as we continue to kind of trade inside here. Here's what I'll be looking at. I have a range defined by strictly extending my value or my volume profile here. We got value area high over the last few days up here at 1886.30. So $1.50 below where we traded today. We got our value area low down here at 1872.10. I think this is going to be a nice range to keep an eye on here over the coming couple days as this market continues to trade inside here. All right, next, Euro. Don't have a lot to say about Euro. Opened up this morning, kind of got a little choppy after John talked. We popped just slightly into some prior overnight consolidation. Not a ton of volume up here. We popped right inside that, and then this market started to rotate over. We know it's been historic that this market, we get nice trends in the overnight session. During regular trading hours, we start to fall into a little bit more of a range. The key here is making sure we define that range so we can trade inside of that. I think probability states if we range trade versus trend trade the Euro, we're going to be a little bit more beneficial. It's going to pay out a little bit more for us. All right, and lastly, let's go ahead and look at the 10-year note, and we'll get the heck on out of here. 10-year note opened up this morning pretty much right at Friday's regular trading hour high. Here's what I like. We're not taking a lot of risk off the open. We pop to that high. Market starts to rotate lower. Where can it go? Well, yeah, we got settlement price down here at 132.14. Can I expect that big of a move? Well, it's tough when we got yields moving lower to expect this market to get to unchanged. But we came right to Friday's value area high, and then here's another signal. Yields are down. Market's in a pivotal spot. We can go ahead and look for the long here to see if we can catch an upward directional move. And that's what we got. So good opportunities across the board. Again, it is just Monday, so lots of time this week. Take your time. Be patient. Don't rush into anything whatsoever. Got a long week. And remember, going into real summer trading now around the corner. Historically, what happens when summer trade hits? Well, things get a little quieter. The last few years, we found some good opportunity. We found markets have been actionable over the summer, but Friday, Memorial Day Friday, don't expect a lot to be happening. I want to stress that heavily. Make sure you guys are getting out and enjoying some time off too. Get out and enjoy some weather. Some places are starting to open up. I know some places are staying relatively locked down. At least get outside, get out there and enjoy a little bit of sun. Do what makes you feel good. Going for a walk, going for a hike, cleaning your house, taking a nap on the couch. Start doing some stuff for yourself. Summer is here, and we all know that summer trade. Things tend to slow down. We're seeing the VIX start to dip, holding below 20 right now. So keep that one in mind. Level 2, good to see you. Sean, when you say we're done by 10:30 this morning, is this because you made a profit target or you did not see any more opportunities? Sean, I don't really trade with any sort of profit target in mind. It just depends on what the day gives me. I was pretty checked out by 10:30, and I realized, you know what? I just am not having it right now. I took a little bit off the table, locked in a little bit, and then said, it's Monday. Let's slow things down here. I don't mind walking away with a small green day, but I don't really trade with any sort of profit target in mind. Whatever the market is willing to present is what I'm willing to take. By this afternoon, I realized I'm going to slow it down and focus on some other stuff. I missed the uptrend. I waited for the end of the day. I was afraid getting run over during the trend. Hey, that's okay, Norman. Trend is hard sometimes. It's simple for us to sit here and say you buy the pullback in a trending market. Trend is your friend. Trend is a very difficult trade. And that's the case for a lot of people out there. It's not so much difficult to say, well, the market's going to go higher and I think it can go here. It's what kind of risk are we going to take in this? And that's where things get a little bit tough. We can sit here and look and say, hey, that's a pullback. Well, some days pullbacks are different than other pullbacks. And if we start to just kind of use some sort of levels that we can to say, hey, if the market gets through here and holds up above it, and what we use to determine holding up above it, it's going to be different for everyone. But if we can find a way to say, hey, it's holding up above it, looking to continue to extend, then that's a good opportunity to possibly get in. Vlad, Amazon buying MGM. What? Well, it's in talks. Amazon, they're nearing a deal to buy MGM Studios for nearly $9 billion. So, table scraps for Amazon over there. But I think that's going to be an interesting one, and it could send Amazon stock all over the place. Gosh, they're just taking over everything. If you can catch the majority of the move this morning, what more could you want? Exactly. It's a great point. You just want to take chunks. Remember, like day trading, we're not here to pick up that entire trend. That's not what day trading's about. We want to find little pieces of it. I think a lot of times people look at it and say, gosh, I wish I would have bought here and sold there. And, I was able to I saw something here and I could have taken the whole trend. Well, sometimes it's not there. The trend starts inside range and then starts to break outside of that. There's so many extenuating factors. If you can take little pieces of it, that's all that matters. Yeah, PD, like I said, there wasn't a lot. We got to look at levels. So it's not always about the pullback. We find those levels and see if it holds and accepts up above, and that's really a key to keep an eye on. Jay, Dan, can you define weekly kickoff high or low? Absolutely, Jay. Those are a couple levels that we put out each and every week for a few different markets, just areas for inflection, right? Not saying the market's going to get to them, but areas to look for some sort of opportunity. Not support, not resistance, nothing like that. Remember, support and resistance is only hindsight. It's just areas that if the market gets directional, we may find, opportunity towards or from those points. So we put those out every week. No real point I can say on how they're defined. John does them mostly. It's pretty much levels that we're all looking at or talking about, and John's got, his methods for coming up with some of these levels, just like a lot of levels where we all, we'll say, hey, I like this level, and why? Well, I can sit here and say a lot of levels I'm looking at are time-based, volume-based, indication-based, and a couple other little calculations I like to run in them. All right, so like we mentioned, yields down today. Across the board, other than the 6-month and 3-month, but everything else is down. VIX down, well below 20 right now, 18.4. GameStop had a nice little pop today, up above $187 right now, trading $180. Tesla seeing a little bit more life on this one, $606. Our Airbnb is not looking so hot. $135 a share. I'm not real thrilled about that one myself. I liked when we were up above 200. Bitcoin's been the talk of the town. Seeing a little bit more positive light here, a little bit more momentum. Bitcoin up there at 41,980. Lots to think about when it comes to these cryptos. As a matter of fact, that's going to be our topic tomorrow for Coach's Playbook. We're going to talk a lot about the cryptos. Is it tradable yet? We'll talk about that. Where we see it going, our thoughts behind it. We'll continue to discuss that. Obviously, we know China has said no to crypto. That's a big, drastic effect. But you also got other analysts out there calling for $100,000 in Bitcoin by the end of the year still, and they're standing strong by that. So it could be interesting. All right, lastly, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central Time, you're going to have new home sales and consumer confidence tomorrow morning. Other than that, relatively quiet day. Lastly, we'll touch on this date in history, and I'll get that guy out of here. The first one, if you've been to New York City, you've seen it. The Brooklyn Bridge on this day in 1883 opened up. There's a bunch of documentaries out there. I recommend watching or reading about this. The story of the Brooklyn Bridge is just wild. It took 14 years to build, connecting New York and Brooklyn. Pretty wild. So go dig into it a little bit. If you enjoy history, it's pretty interesting. All right, and then the next one, in 1844, Samuel Morse demonstrated to members of Congress what the telegraph can do with the message. What hath God wrought? And then the last one I got for us here in 1935, the MLB held its first ever night game. Cincinnati Reds beat the Philadelphia Phillies 2-1 at Crosley Field in Cincinnati. On that note, guys, I'm going to move on out of here. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. John will be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central Time with the market forecast. So until then, stay safe, wash your hands, trade smart, and trade well. I look forward to seeing you guys all in the markets. Take care, everybody.